Captain Sunshine here with a brand new feature I call What's That Mean? Where I break down some bit of internet wisdom that crosses my path, such as what comes across my Facebook feed every morning. Today we have a child writing a letter to God. It goes, "Dear God, why do you allow so much violence in our school?" It is signed a concerned student. God replies, "Dear concerned student, I'm not allowed in school." Signed, God. At first, I found this letter to be very troubling. I've been writing letters to God my entire life, and I've never had a single one of them answered. Why don't my letters get answered? Yet a child who doesn't even sign their own name gets theirs answered? This was very troubling to me. But then I focused on the answer, and I had an aha moment, and I knew this letter was probably a forgery. So I went to the big guy himself, because although he doesn't write me letters, we do have this thing going between him and I. And I asked him, "Aren't you omnipotent?" Now, that's all powerful for those of you who skip Sunday school. And he answered me that he was. And I wondered, how can an all-powerful anything, let alone an all-powerful God, get kicked out of anywhere, including a school? And he assured me that he couldn't. So then I asked him, "And aren't you omnipresent?" Now, that's present everywhere all the time for those of you who don't study your Bible. And again, he answered me that he was. And I wondered, even if he wasn't omnipotent, the fact that he's omnipresent means he still couldn't be kicked out of a school. So I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that this letter was a forgery. And I wondered, who is behind this dastardly deed that makes God out to be weak and pathetic and, well, let's be honest, it makes him look petty. And I assumed it must be some atheist or an infidel or some non-believer somewhere. Who else would want to make God look weak and small? But then I remembered that God is also omniscient. Now, that's all-knowing for those of you who sleep through Sunday sermons. And I knew that he would know who's behind this. So I asked him. And I was shocked to find out that it wasn't an atheist or a non-believer after all. The people behind this are so-called believers who claim that they believe in God and they think they're doing him a favor by posting this nonsense. And it is nonsense. Let me ask you this. Is God also kicked out of, say, churches? Presumably not. Yet violence, particularly gun violence, has been a growing problem in America, including churches. One article I read that was written in 2020 says that since the Columbine school shooting, there have been 23 deadly shootings in U.S. churches, including the 2017 church shooting in a Southern Baptist church in Texas that claimed 26 lives. Yet you don't see memes suggesting that the cause for church violence is that God has been kicked out of churches. Yet some Christians want you to believe that the cause of school violence is that God is not allowed in school. And what would God being allowed in school look like? You know that when people suggest that God be allowed in school, they're not referring to the Muslim God or any of the Hindu gods or a pagan god or some New Age concept of God. No, it's their God that they want allowed in school. All those other gods, they still want them kicked out of school. We live in a world that is hurting. Violence in schools, in churches, in society in general is a reflection of that. The Christian's role is to be a healing force, to bring God's light and love into the world. The primary way the church does this is through the gospel message. Friends, you can't force anyone to believe in God with laws forcing him to be taught in public schools. That's not how the gospel works. God doesn't force himself on anyone. Why would you presume to do it for him? Jesus said in Matthew 5:14 through 16, "Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. The Christian's role in all of this is to be the light of the world, to be a living example of the gospel. As a Christian, you should be part of the solution by living the gospel of Jesus Christ. The gospel of love taught by Jesus Christ has the power to change the world, and the world is powerless to stop it. In fact, the only entity on earth that can stop the power of the gospel is Christians themselves. By focusing on something other than the gospel, say politics. By focusing on politics instead of the gospel, you diminish the primary power that a Christian has to transform this world. What's more, have you noticed politics make people angry? And when you're angry, the power of the gospel is not just diminished, it's snuffed out. Not by any powers of this world, but by you. You do it to yourself. So stop it. Stop posting memes that make God look pathetic and weak and small, and start living the gospel. If you've seen a meme that you'd like me to comment on, send it to me at the email address that's on your screen now. And if you've made it this far into the video, you might as well hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I'm Captain Sunshine. Until next time, peace and grace to you, my friend.